Hello and welcome to this episode of Microchips, and on the bench today we have this classic radio, the Hygain V. Now this is not the DX version, so let's have a look at it and see what we can do with it. So here we have the iconic Hygain V in pretty much standard condition. Now this is not the DX, so it's only got a clarifier. 120 channels, FM, AM, USB, LSB. Pretty basic on the front, but we all know the Hygain V for its iconic bleep, or pee-weep as some people like to call it. So I bought this as potentially working, and the case is going to need some attention because the case is in pretty bad condition. But if we have a first look inside, everything does seem in order inside, doesn't seem to be messed with. But then again, looks could be deceiving, as we're going to find out with this. Now, in its previous history, somebody had tried fitting an EEPROM to it, and the person who had bought it off tried to restore it back to how it was without the EEPROM. Unfortunately, tracks have been cut and he's remade them. So the radio is working now, and I will tidy that area up a little bit. And there was the EEPROM that was in it. Well, it wasn't actually in it, it was sent with it, with the intention of fitting it, which I'm certainly not going to do. But anyway, so let's just check frequencies, and the clarifier is actually unlocked. I think this is unlocked from the factory. It does move a little bit. It's been set up to drop you onto the UK offset, but everything looks on frequency from low, mid, high band. Now this is where the fun begins. So, two-tone test shows that we've got some flat topping on the waveform. So we're going to need to address that. But actually, this is going to open up a big can of worms. As you can see on high band, that waveform is completely not correct. Even in a factory condition, that's not correct. So I think somebody's been twiddling with this. Anyway, let's have a look at the base of the output and see what the base voltage is. Now I don't think this has had the driver modification. And as you can see, 0.485 volts on the base. So that's going to cause some clipping and some general unhappiness on the RF driver. This should be 0.7 of a volt. So, with it being a 121 chassis, R44 needs to come out and be replaced. So we take out R44, and we will be replacing this with a 15 ohm resistor. So there's our new resistor nicely soldered in, and we're also going to do the pre-drive as well, which is R40. And we need to change that to a 33 ohm. So we'll get R40 into place. We'll get that soldered in. and then we'll measure some voltages, see whether our base voltages have improved. So on the final 0.6, so we can adjust our V2 now to bring it to 0.7 of a volt. So yeah, close enough. Wasn't happy with it being on 0.699, so there, bang on 0.7. Now let's have a look at the pre-drive. There's no adjustment for this, but 0.75, perfectly acceptable. So that should be the RF output stage set correctly. And it doesn't seem to have made much of a difference on the flat topping, so I think somebody's been messing somewhere. So let's have a look at the audio limiter. Now, looking around the area for the audio limiter modification, I can see this capacitor has leaked a little bit. I've noticed this on some other radios, so we'll change that capacitor and we'll do the audio limiter performance as well, which is change R150 to a 5.6k, and we'll change this capacitor whilst we're at it. So there's our new resistor and capacitor installed. So let's get those soldered into place. See if this makes any difference. There, nicely done. So back on the output again, on the two-tone generator. And we've still got some flat topping. Now I scratched my head for a little while, thinking why is this output stage just not responding correctly? And I could get it to look a little bit better, but there was something just not quite right somewhere. As you can see by the trace on the scope. None of the usual adjustments made any difference, or really any significant difference apart from that one. Now normally just adjusting a couple of these with the two-tone on, you can get the waveform looking absolutely perfect. So yeah, scratched my head for a while, and then I looked at the power meter of the actual RF power, and it was very, very, very low. I mean, we're talking below a watt. So I thought maybe this is the actual key to this. So I went through it and did a full alignment of the RF path and found that it was a complete mess. Somebody had twiddled just about everything. So after a nice alignment, we have now a healthy, very healthy output and a very nice waveform on the output. So now we're producing 10 to 12 watts, and all that flat topping has cleared itself up. So we'll carry on with the modifications. So we're just going to add a 102 capacitor to the junction of our 28 and T32. simple as that. And we're going to boost the SSB audio by changing R166 to 5.6K. And there's our resistor in place. So the radio is actually in good performing condition now. So stay tuned for part 2, where we carry on the modifications.